Indiana Fever fans are furious with this signing. Absolutely furious with the fact the Fever have signed.
Indiana Fever fans are absolutely furious, and for a good reason. In a shocking turn of events, the Fever just signed Brianna Turner, a player who's been openly critical of one of the league's biggest stars, Caitlin Clark. And guess what? Now she's teammates with her. Yep, you heard that right. The signing has turned into one of the most talked about moves in WNBA history, but not for the reasons Indiana fans were hoping for. When the Indiana Fever made their big free agency moves this offseason, fans were hyped. The team was cooking with top-tier signings, adding pieces that seemed like the perfect fit for their championship aspirations. With the core of their squad looking better than ever, Fever fans were bracing for a season of dominance. But then came Brianna Turner. The excitement? Gone. Fans quickly realized Turner, who's touted as a defensive powerhouse, had a dark past with Caitlin Clark, the very player she was now going to share a locker room with. How did this go from a dream to a disaster so fast? Let's break it down. Brianna Turner's past comments about Caitlin Clark and the Iowa fanbase were ugly. We're talking about tweets where she called out Clark and her squad, back when Clark was dominating college basketball. Imagine hiring a bodyguard only to find out they once trashed your star player. Yeah, awkward doesn't even cover it. The internet never forgets, and fans quickly dug up these receipts. Now, Turner is walking into a locker room with Clark, and the tension is already off the charts. Indiana Fever fans were hoping to see their team grow into a title contender, and for the most part, they were thrilled with the signings they had made. They had high expectations, particularly with the addition of a player like Turner, who is meant to provide elite defense and bolster the team's efforts against top-tier opponents. But there was a fatal flaw in the equation. Brianna Turner wasn't just joining a roster, she was joining a roster that included Caitlin Clark, a player she had taken shots at on social media. It's the kind of drama fans didn't sign up for, especially when they were just beginning to get excited about a fresh start. As it turns out, Turner wasn't just making subtle jabs or being a passive observer. She was actively vocal about her thoughts on Caitlin Clark's Iowa squad, often questioning their abilities and publicly downplaying their success. The backlash wasn't just online, it was real, and it's now catching up with her. Imagine being in Clark's shoes. You've been the star player of your team, the one the fans are rallying behind, and now you're expected to share a locker room with someone who's called your whole squad overrated. It's not a great feeling, not by a long shot. And to make matters worse, Turner's tweets have resurfaced, and people aren't letting her forget them. Some fans are laughing at the irony, while others are fuming with anger. It's one thing to have past disagreements or a little banter, but it's another to actively try to downplay the talents of someone you're now supposed to work alongside. Fans are wondering if the Fever really thought this one through. Did they just sign their own biggest critic? What fans are questioning now is the potential fallout in the locker room. A team can't be successful if the players aren't united, and if there's any underlying tension between Turner and Clark, it could be a huge distraction. While other players, like Aaliyah Boston, have stepped up and embraced the challenge of adding Clark to the squad, Turner seems to be handling it differently. Instead of being open to the idea of supporting the star player and contributing to a winning culture, Turner's social media antics have raised red flags. Instead of making her presence felt on the court, she's made headlines off it. Fans aren't sure if they can trust someone who seems more interested in stirring the pot than helping her team succeed. Then there's the issue of Turner's Twitter habits. After the signing was announced, she quickly blocked fans who brought up her past comments about Clark. Instead of addressing the tension and trying to prove herself, Turner's default response seems to be avoiding any criticism. It's a dangerous game to play when you're part of a team that's trying to build a tight-knit, positive culture. Instead of facing the music, Turner seems more interested in silencing the people who are questioning her actions. That's not the kind of leadership Fever fans were hoping for. But the real question still remains, can Brianna Turner prove herself on the court? Sure, she's known for her defense, but she's not exactly a scoring machine. In fact, her offensive stats are downright underwhelming, less than 5 points per game. For a team like the Indiana Fever, who are hoping to stack their roster with players who could contribute both offensively and defensively, Turner's lack of scoring is a big issue. The Fever's needs go beyond just defense. They need players who can step up and contribute in all areas of the game. Turner's past as a solid defender may have made her an appealing prospect, but right now she looks like a defensive specialist who can't offer much else. If the Fever were looking to make a real championship push, they needed more than just defense. They needed players who could deliver when the game was on the line, not just players who could lock down the other team's best shooter. Turner may be good at stopping others from scoring, but what about contributing to the offense? What about leadership? That's where she falls short, and now the fans are left questioning if her signing was worth the risk. But the real impact of Turner's signing isn't just her on-court abilities, it's her off-court behavior. Fans are getting fed up with her social media antics. The blocking spree isn't doing her any favors, and it's only drawing more attention to the fact that she's avoiding the very people she needs to win over. If Turner wants to prove herself, she needs to focus on basketball, not Twitter arguments. The Fever have a championship-caliber team, and they don't need any distractions. They need players who are going to show up and put in the work, not players who are busy trying to change the narrative through social media posts. And yet, while Turner is busy making headlines for all the wrong reasons, other players like Aaliyah Boston are showing what true leadership looks like. Boston welcomed Caitlin Clark with open arms and embraced the challenge of playing alongside her. There's a stark contrast between Boston's approach and Turner's. One is focused on the team, the other on personal agendas. One is dedicated to building chemistry, while the other seems to be creating friction. The contrast couldn't be more glaring, and Fever fans are noticing. The real issue with Turner's signing isn't just her past comments, it's how she's handling the present. Instead of working on earning the respect of her teammates and fans, Turner has opted for a more defensive approach. Blocking fans, ignoring the tension, and dodging questions isn't how you win a fan base over. In fact, it's how you alienate them. Turner needs to understand that she's not just playing for herself anymore. She's playing for the Fever, for Caitlin Clark, and for all the fans who are watching her every move. If she wants to succeed in Indiana, she needs to leave the drama behind and focus on what she was brought in to do, play basketball. In the end, the million-dollar question is whether or not Turner can change the narrative. Can she prove that her signing wasn't a mistake? Can she let her game do the talking and show that she's a valuable addition to the team? If she doesn't, this entire situation might implode before it even gets started. Fever fans aren't interested in drama, they're interested in a championship. Turner can either prove that she belongs or become the distraction that derails everything the Fever have worked for. The clock is ticking. Every game that goes by without Turner stepping up on the court is another chance for her to lose the faith of the fans. She has the talent, but it's time to prove it. If not, her legacy with the Fever could be defined by her Twitter account more than her defensive prowess. For Indiana fans, that's not the kind of player they were hoping for. The Fever need a leader, not a liability. What happens next will tell us everything we need to know about Brianna Turner's future in Indiana. Will she rise to the occasion and embrace the team-first mentality, or will she become the controversy that fans couldn't escape? For now, all anyone can do is wait and see how this all unfolds. But one thing's for sure, the drama is just getting started. Will Turner be the hero the Fever need, or the villain they never saw coming? This season is shaping up to be one of the most interesting in recent memory. And it's all thanks to Brianna Turner.